Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey guys, good evening. This is Carla Churik. I'm filling in for Sarah Rose in the beginning of tonight's call. I'm excited to be doing this topic this week. We're going to be talking about trade shows, and so Sarah's going to jump in at the end and recap. But I'm excited to talk about trade shows because there's many different things that encompasses that. So we're going to go ahead and we are just going to dive right into the presentation. Let me just move this. I'm assuming, can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good. And we can't
okay.
See you're trying to move out of the way. Don't worry about it.
Okay, got it. Okay, so when we think about what is a trade show, right? It's an organized event, typically on a larger scale, where companies get together and either showcase their product or their services or share best practices, whatever it is that they're doing. So some of the ones that are most popular here are home shows, fishing, hunting, garden, bridal shows. I'm sure we've been to a lot of these or perhaps been a part of this. State county fairs, dog, horse, animals, boat, cars, firearms collectors. A lot of the other, and these are just some of the most popular, but some of the ones that I like to attend as well are more of the trade shows, where if you know anyone that's an electrical engineer or a contractor or a builder or someone in agriculture, that sort of thing. A lot of these specific trade industries, these companies belong to a larger organization, sometimes a state organization or an association, and even a national one. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to either attend the trade show as an attendee or also perhaps exhibit at it, and we're going to discuss those two ways in a minute. But these are just some of the most popular events or trade shows that we can all attend. So when we look at two different ways to leverage at the trade shows, right, we can attend as a guest. A lot of times these guests are free to just come right in. There could be a small fee depending, but most of the time, my experience, it's been free. And then you can also be an exhibitor at the shows where you're actually showcasing, and maybe you're showcasing MA Web Centers. So we're going to talk about that. If you have an opportunity to be an exhibitor at a marketing conference, what that looks like, and what tools and information and pamphlets and brochures and that sort of thing, what would you be bringing and showcasing as you are an exhibitor at a trade show? So for tonight, though, I'm going to spend more time on what you would do when you attend as a guest, because I think for the most part, a lot of us attend more of these trade shows, and we're looking to get connecting with people and networking and meeting people and building relationships. But I'll also cover an exhibitor, but we're going to spend more time on some tips and ideas for attending a trade show. So when we look at all the different categories, right, we want to, first of all, determine the possibilities so we can just identify all the different shows for us to attend. So jump on Google, just all the different mail communications that come to the house. So it's easy to just take out a piece of paper, identify the home show or where it actually is, identify the theme of the show, right? If it's a construction home show or if it's a bridal show, just what is the theme going on at that particular show, the location, the date, and the time. This is really important because not every show might be effective for us to attend as a guest. There's multiple shows going around. So, and all throughout the year, right? Typically home shows, I believe, take place in April, kicking off kind of the spring time, but there's so many other different state shows, associations, that sort of thing throughout the year. So you can identify what shows are coming up in your area. And so here's some tips for doing that, right? So you want to check out the website. A lot of times at these trade shows, they actually list who the exhibitors are, right? Because the trade show's role is to coordinate an effective show, and they're also able to try to draw the traffic in. So you want to check out the website to see who's going to be there. You want to check out on social media, searching hashtags, see kind of what the buzz is, what the feel is going around, that sort of thing, all throughout social media. And then you actually want to do some market research on the attendees as well. What's the mix of the attendees that are coming in? Because remember, we're in conversation mode, relationship marketing mode. So everyone at these shows who we meet are great candidates, right? So we want to do some research on the attendees as well. Who's coming into the show, because you're actually one of those attendees as well. And you want to stand out, you want to be different. We're going to talk about that, but you want to make sure you kind of fit into the attendees, into the show, kind of like the description. And then you want to look for ways to keep the cost down, right? A lot of times the exhibitors that are exhibiting at these shows, yes, they're paying money typically to be there, but the guests a lot of times are free, and or if there is a cost to it, make sure you check out the discount days on when you could possibly attend. So there's many different ways to not spend a ton of money in order to come to these shows. So like I said, sometimes there's discounts. It may be free depending on if you show up and attend on different dates. So when you're a guest during the show, so what I'd like to do in the meantime, actually let me back up. When we're identifying all of the different shows and we're writing them down, we want to look at who all the exhibitors are going to be there. A lot of times, like I said, they're listed out. So I like to do my own research. And this way, you could attend a trade show that has several hundred exhibitors, right? It's a large trade show. I know I've coordinated many of them. I've been a part as an exhibitor and or as an attendee as well. So you have to kind of look at the list and say, okay, I obviously can't sit and talk with 200 people. What's the best use of my time? And you want to be mindful of the exhibitors of who you're going up to. You want to don't waste their time either. So a lot of the times when you're going in and you're talking with these people, especially at the booths, we just have to remember, right? We're not there to sell anything. You might only have a few minutes to speak with these people. And also, if you've done some research, here's something that I like to do as well. If you've done some research prior to that, you might start to know and look on their websites. A lot of these companies, if you're talking in terms of like construction or electrical trade shows and that sort of thing, sometimes the people that are attending the trade shows are actually just a smaller branch. They're not even the decision maker. They're not even the marketing person. These are just the guys that travel, gosh, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks out of the month, and they do nothing but trade shows. So when you're researching and looking at these websites, it's important to maybe try to identify those people that could have a potential parent company, like for instance, the energy people or the solar panel, different types of companies I've experienced. A lot of them have parent companies where you're not directly talking with those marketing people at the trade shows. So maybe you want to push them off a little bit and target people that are more local, more mom and pop, more people that you can see that there could be a need based on their website and things that you've researched online before you go in. So when you go and talk with these people during the show, remember, they're in sell mode, right? Exhibitors are there to put on a show to sell you something, because to make it effective for them, it's worthwhile for them. They're there to sell. So you don't want to waste their time. You want to be mindful of that. So you don't want to be weird, right? You don't want to go up and try to sell anything. You just want to have a conversation. And you just want to say hello and how's it going. And what I like to do when I meet these people at the show is I'll walk around and I'll say something like, you know, if I'm at a construction trade show and someone's there and they manufacture or they make shovels, right? So I'll go up and I'll say, hey, John, my name is Carla. You know, I'm new to the area. It doesn't necessarily mean you're moving or that sort of thing. And I'll say I'm new to the area and I'd really love to learn a little bit more about your company. What is it you guys do? And I've already done a little research, but when I'm sitting in front of them or I'm talking with them at their booth, I really want to learn more about their shovels. I really want to learn more about them. So we want to say hi. We want to be friendly. We want to stand out in some ways. We want to, and also just be specific. So we're there just to have a conversation, walk around, introduce people, collect business cards. You can exchange them if you want, but I like to approach people with the question of I want to learn more about their business. So I'm not handing them a card per se. I'm just going in as an attendee. And what I'm doing is I'm drawing up a conversation and I'm looking for ways based on their responses of how is that going to go in my follow-up approach after the show, right? So I'm just collecting information. I'm meeting people. I'm being friendly. I'm being personable. And I'm just making conversations. I might bring up the weather. I might bring up something specific of one of their products or services, and we might talk about it. But I don't want to keep a lot of their time either because they're there to also, like I said, sell things and meet with other people. So I like to walk around the show. I'll do some research before. I'll talk with people, just make conversations, and then I'll make little notes, right? So I usually take people's business cards. I'm like, you know, this guy with long hair and a yellow shirt. Whatever notes and comments that I remember from him, because when we talk about what to say in that follow-up call after you attend the trade show, it's just an easier conversation to say, I remember you. You were the guy in the yellow shirt and you had the big smiley face. I don't know if you remember me, but, and it kind of turns the cold follow-up call more into a warm one because you've already met with them and you were friendly with them. So I like to make any type of notes, and even if it's personal and not specific business-wise, just anything that comes to mind, it's really been, it really helps. So 2 to 3 days post the show, that's actually a really good time to then contact the business owner. So I recommend you start with the people that you really struck up a great conversation with and that you really tend to hit it off. They were engaging. You had a great conversation back and forth. I would follow up with them within a few days after you've met them. And you can say something like, hey, John, this is Carla. We met at the show. I'm not sure if you remembered me, but I remembered you. You were in the bright yellow shirt, which it looked, you know, really nice shirt, or something that connects you guys both at the show. And then I can say, how did that show work for you? Or how did it go? Or what do you think the turnout was? How was the day for you? And then you pause and you let them respond, and then you can just start the conversation that way. You can say, oh, great. The reason why I'm calling is I met you at the show. I wanted to learn more about your business. I went on your website. I see a lot of great services or products that you offer. I'm looking to refer you perhaps to my friends and family. What else can I share with them? Or depending on what their response is, you could really take that conversation in many different ways. So at that point, when you have a follow-up conversation, it might be a good idea to schedule, to try to get that 15-minute consult. So when you call, you can say something like, John, your shovel business, I was so fascinated. Thank you for taking the time out to share with me what it is you guys do. By the way, I have friends and family in your area that could be interested in your services. How do I get them some information on your company? And then you just stop. It could be that simple. You're truly coming from the heart that you want to learn more about their business, and you want to share that information with your friends and family. That's all you're looking to do. And that just really gets the conversation going. So it keeps it personal. It keeps it out of the sell mode per se, and you could just start the conversation that way. So that's what I like to do, especially when you're a guest walking through. And so you want to be friendly, right? You want to make it short. You want to be mindful of their time as well. And remember, they're in there to sell. That's the mode that they're in. And a lot of these times, guys, they're on the road so much. And so just keep in mind, they might not be that decision maker. These might just be a smaller local branch off of a larger company. So you want to make sure you do some research ahead of time if you can, And the research is just for you. It's not necessarily to ask them specific questions at that time about their online web presence. It's just so you could target, okay, these people might definitely have a need based on their social media or what I'm seeing on this company. A, B, C, and D, they could really use some work. So you're just going to use that as a target to say, I'm going to go talk to these first 10 people, these 10 people first, and I'm going to see where that goes. And same thing, when you walk up and you approach them, you're just making a conversation. The information that you've researched on them and that you've made notes based on how their website looks, how are they listed on social media, you could use some of that information when you follow up with them post the trade show, right? That's when that information would really come in handy. So here's the other way.
Wait,
Carla,
before you move on, I did just want to add one quick little thing, because you did a great job. You covered everything great, and one of the tips that you gave, I think everybody heard it, but it was, when you're looking for shows to attend, a lot of them have discount days or discount hours, where like if you attend after this time, it's a little bit less money, or if you attend on the opening day or during the day, it's less money. And it's not about the discount. It's really about, if they're offering discounts, it's usually because it's a lower traffic time. So I always find that, yeah, you're going to save a couple of bucks when you go on those days, but even more valuable than that is you're more likely to have time to have these conversations and really kind of get the opportunity to connect with people, where if you go during a high traffic time, you're going to probably pay a little bit more money, and the people that you're trying to connect with are going to be busier. So I just wanted to throw that out there too. Just, it's not just about saving money, and I probably should have put that in the slide, but it's more about like finding a strategic time as a web center owner to connect with people.
Awesome. No, thanks, Sarah. That's great. And it's true. And you still also want to be mindful. Yeah, if you go there at slower times and the business owner has time and they're taking more time to talk with you, then that would be great. The other way you can look at it, I guess, is if there's lower traffic time, will I meet that many people? But to your point, you'll have more of that quality conversation. So great point. Thanks for sharing that. So the other option for going to a trade show is being an exhibitor. So if you're interested in presenting on behalf of MA Web Centers, what are the information that you would bring if you're attending a marketing conference or whatever it is? If you're interested in being an exhibitor, a lot of times the exhibitor is the one that has to pay the money to rent the table, the location, and that sort of thing. So keep in mind, though, if you're an exhibitor and you're paying for a table because you feel like you're getting as close to the other business owners as possible, you also have less time for walking around and networking, right? Because you have to man your space. So if you want to be an exhibitor and actually showcase our solution and what you have to offer, you can bring a whole assortment of materials with you now that we have all this wonderful things, right? We have the B2B business catalog, we have the magnets, the 15-minute consults, right? Those are still great because those will still help us to get prompted and ask questions. We have the CDs, the flash drives, all of that. You could set up a rotating video on your table. So we have a lot of different materials if you did want to be an exhibitor to showcase. But I wanted to spend more time as an attendee because I feel that we attend more shows than we exhibit. But if you did want to exhibit, that is an option. It usually costs money for you to do so. You would have less time to network and meet people around you, but there's many different materials and resources that we could bring to help showcase all of our different solutions and product and services that we offer. So that's always an option as well. So networking at trade shows. So this is what we had started off in the beginning, right? There's always websites with information. A lot of times they'll list out who the exhibitors are, and just remember, we're not there to sell anything. We're not even there to set the appointment. We're just connecting. And what I love to do just with business owners is always ask, I want to learn more about your business. I would love to refer your business to my friends and family or vice versa. how do I do that? Just tell me more about your business. So I make it all about them, and it just becomes really easy and engaging. And the more questions you ask about them, the less that they're going to ask about you. So it makes it an easy follow-up call in 2 to 3 days after the show. It just makes it more effective. So collect as many business cards as you can, and I just like to write down notes on the back, even if they had amazing shoes that day or their hair was slicked back. It could be something silly and funny like that, but people really appreciate what you remember about them. It's really interesting. So I try to remember funny and just quirky things. Anything that you can remember, just write it down. Keep the conversation short and moving along. Always make sure you follow up, because that's where the effectiveness happens, right? Everything that we do always comes out in the follow-up. So make sure you get their names, their website, take any notes, and follow up. So that's what I wanted to share on trade shows.
Thank you so much, Carla. I really appreciate that. And I have nothing else to add, because you really did knock everything out of the park. So what we're going to do is, can you just flip to the next slide so that we can have it open? Huge thank you to Carla and also to Russell for getting everything jumped off. And you guys are amazing. Lots of really great things. And by the way, guys, I missed the first 2 minutes of the webinar. I'm not sure if you know this or not, but Carla is really an expert when it comes to these shows. In fact, you know, a lot of how I approach these trade shows, I learned from her. So I used to go to trade shows when I first got started to make connections, and I found I was probably a little too aggressive when I was going booth to booth at first. And I was writing down notes, but my notes were more about needs and not enough about the person. So it's little things like, hey, write down something funny. Those are the tips that, you know, really make a difference. You guys, I'm telling you, it's like night and day when you approach it that way. Does it take more time? I guess, maybe, but you actually get results. So you might get, you might have to make some more follow-up calls, or you might not get to where you think you needed to get on that night or during that event. But if you do it that way, you're going to get way better responses from people, because like she said, you know, if you keep it all about them, they want to talk about it. So really great advice. So with that being said, I'm really happy, Carla, that you focus mostly on attending as a guest, because the fact is that every single person will have the opportunity and is capable of attending as a guest and doing what you said and making connections and talking to people. So whether you minor, major, or you're an industry professional, that is something that should be on your radar this week, is to identify some shows in your area and attend the event as an opportunity to expand your network and meet new people, okay? If you are majoring in web centers, you might want to take it a step further and do a little bit of research in advance, like Carla was mentioning, and decide, you know, maybe you won't have time to see all 200 exhibitors, right? But decide the 20 to 30 that you definitely want to swing by and check out. And by the way, like she said, a lot of those places also have social media as well. So if you check out the event social media pages, a lot of times they're tagging local businesses to say, don't forget to come to our home show and see XYZ Roofing Company, and they'll only tag people that have social media. So the cool part about that is right away you're identifying people that clearly have an interest in marketing their business digitally, and it's another way for you to check them out, right? It's another way for you to find them online and see, are they active on social media? Are they sending people to their website? Are they good on social media, or are they too salesy? You know, these are all little good things that can, you know, you can keep in the back of your pocket as you're networking at these events. And then again, if you're going as a major, you really want to be very focused with your time there. Make sure that you are writing notes on the back of your cards, whether it's silly, casual things, or whether it's something a little more serious. My thing is that I think, like Carla said, the silly thing is the best thing, because people, like she said, love to know that you remembered something about them. And it's the hardest thing to teach. It's the hardest thing to teach for web centers, and it's the hardest thing to teach in the business. It's, people always say, well, how did you get so many appointments? Well, I connect with people. I listen to them. I compliment them. I remember, like Carla said, the cool shoes that they were wearing. And I say those are the things. Those are the social skills almost that come into play here. And it's not that people don't have the skill. It's that you get so nervous sometimes when you're in this zone that you forget the basic things that we do when we communicate every day. So keep that in your mind, in the back of your mind. And if I were you, I would take Carla's advice and route and try to find something more casual to drop about them, so that when you are following up with them, it's immediately more friendly and less cold or less businessy. And then finally, if you're an industry professional, obviously, these are building blocks, so we recommend you do all of those things. But if you're an industry professional or you're comfortable talking as an exhibitor, we want you to look into potentially being exhibitors in local shows that make sense for you, where it's logical. A pro to being an exhibitor, as in not a Web Center pro, but like pro and con. A pro is that you almost have permission to treat that trade show like a networking event during slow time. So if the time, if there's not a lot of traffic at the show at, 2 o'clock, and rather than sit at your booth and do nothing, you can get up and walk around and meet people, and they're not going to be as offended by you doing that. Or if you do have business conversations, because you're a colleague of theirs rather than someone that just attended to solicit them. So there's a little bit more permission to be more forward in your conversations with other exhibitors when you are an exhibitor. And then the second thing I wanted to mention was that exhibitor shows by nature are marketing companies, right? So if you run a home show, you're selling marketing opportunities to local businesses or businesses that travel, like Carla mentioned. And so keep in mind that part of their job is to make sure that there's traffic and attendees and people and guests at these shows, because if the traffic is not great, then the value of attending the show as an exhibitor goes down. So personally, I've done 3 separate exhibitor websites. So it started off where I was researching the show to put, like in the way that you guys are going to do, to see who was attending. And I noticed that the website itself was not very good. And so the show itself is a website candidate, and you should write them down and consider if their website is set up to, really attract people to want to come to it so that it's successful. And then if you're really good, you can take it a step further, because a lot of times these shows will say to their exhibitors, hey, and by the way, in addition to having a booth at our show, you'll be listed on our website. Well, again, they have a marketing relationship with their people. That's the whole purpose of renting a booth, is marketing. And so you can set up some pretty cool scenarios where you can have the event show, giving you referrals or leads, or you could set up a special pricing structure or free consults for any people attending the show that don't have a very good website presence, and you can let the show become a source of referrals for you. So there's a lot of really cool opportunity around this. We wait until after networking events, because you really do need to master conversational marketing, and you also need to be relaxed for it to work, so that, like Carla said, you can connect with people and get them talking. But there's a lot of opportunity, and hopefully you guys will look at this and, at least at a bare minimum, identify something local in your area or within driving distance that you can attend. It's home show season right now, and the bridal shows are right around the corner. So take a look and make it a great week, everybody. Thank you.